I just see it as a symbol of division between a country and another country. I don't see that in the United States and Canada.
We live in the frontier. A lot of people from Mexico, they crossing over here, then they spend money.
My husband got deported in January, so we're in process. It's unfortunately for us, but it had to happen.
One of my stepdad's friends tried to cross. He tried to jump over from over here and broke his leg.
It's really been good the last 4 years, but I'm not looking forward to the future.
On his first day in office, President Biden halted construction on the U.S.-Mexico border wall.
There will not be another foot of wall constructed on my administration.
A project launched under President Trump that hoped to curb immigration and one that remains one of the most expensive and controversial border projects in U.S. history. Today, it remains incomplete. But for many living along the wall, the issue how to best regulate the border is not clear-cut.
You name it, so it's going to provide them some safety too.
You just got a call. What was that call about?
The horse patrol for Border Patrol is trying to catch a group on the ranch. So I'm fourth generation. I have 3 grown boys and 2 grandsons, so there's 6 generations here. Up until the early 90s, the border fence was a 7-strand barbed wire fence, and that was to contain livestock from crossing the border, either U.S. cattle or Mexican cattle. That was what it was for. It wasn't about illegal people coming, it was livestock. We had a 13-foot mesh wall down here before the 30-foot wall. That wasn't very effective. That was easy to climb and easy to cut. This 30-foot Ballard wall is very intimidating. I'm in favor of it. It's a huge expense, it's an eyesore, but I think it was a last-ditch effort, and it's political. But we made a statement that Donald Trump was serious about securing the border.
This is what the border looked like in 1915. 2 men, one on each side. The marker designating that between Mexico and Arizona. I'll tell you what it was like growing up. It was a chain link fence, with holes in it and all. So you could just cross back and forth, back and forth. Things changed a lot when 9/11 happened. A different atmosphere, a different attitude started to change. The fence started to change. Before that, it was just this old fence. Like 60% of the faces that you see in here have a family member on the other side. You have an uncle, an aunt, a cousin, somebody that you're connected to from the Mexican side. 20% of the faces that you see in here, you will find were not born on this side, they were born on that side. They were born in Mexico. You start to read, like this guy, Frank B. Camp. He wrote Mexican border ballads, and when you read it, you read about the life of a young man on the border, guarding it and all, and the fears and the snakes and the heat, the same things that you hear about today. The same issues that you read about today, they were talking about yesterday. And you think, haven't we learned, anything?
They put this razor wire up. That was put up when the caravans were being anticipated to discourage them coming over. See, this is the line to cross back into the United States. I remember being in that line and watching a pregnant girl they were trying to boost her up and get over that wall. And I was just shocked and amazed that they were trying to do that. I was born and raised here in Douglas and have seen the different aspects of the wall. Border security and immigration policies over the years. We haven't received anything formally regarding the stopping of the building of the wall. It has stopped to the point the only thing that they tell us that they're allowed to do right now is erosion control. I understand the walls. Since the wall started in the 1990s, which you can determine the Bush administration wall, our crime rate has gone down some 73% in Douglas.
Mayor Donald Hewish is a Republican, but in Douglas, Arizona, issues of immigration don't fall neatly along partisan lines.
It would have been nice to use that money for something else. However, I think security along the border is very much important. We build a 30-foot wall, somebody's going to build a 31-foot ladder. And that's just the way it's going to happen. If it was me, I would have looked at cybersecurity extensively to see how that would do it in place of putting up a physical barrier. I understand it. That's the choice that made it the federal level to do that. And the cost seems to be astronomical.
With construction halted, the future of the wall remains uncertain, and so does its past. Thousands of construction workers, as we learned across 3 states, are barred from speaking to the press, at least publicly.
I've been out here about the last year, out working on the wall, been aiding in constructing it and erecting the steel bollards, getting the concrete in the ground, and getting the road for the Border Patrol graded and ready so that they could drive on it and they could access different areas of the entire border. 90% of what has been constructed has been replacing existing wall. So there was a wall, and a lot of it was erected in prior presidencies. With the executive order, 70% of the workforce that are actively or were actively working on the wall were laid off. For myself and many others that I work with, it's just another job. In the construction industry, you bounce from job to job. It's not about the politics. It's not about really what you're doing. It's about just going and finishing what you're told to do. The wall truly is not a whole lot more effective than what was existing.
In recent months, migration to the border has spiked, and sites like this, marking where bodies of migrants have been found, have been increasing from 144 in 2019 to 227 in 2020 in Arizona alone.
It's a really complicated question to answer why we're seeing as many deaths as we are. As the economy changes, things change. As the political environment here changes, things change on the border. Who feels safe to cross, who thinks they might have a chance waiting at the border. There's so many factors involved. But the one thing we do know is that water that we put out and our sister groups put out is still being used. Not always in a regular way, but very consistently we can show lots of water use.
Doug Rube places water stations in the Sonoran Desert for migrants crossing over.
These barrels need, we clean them out, we use some chlorine and soak them and then rinse them back out and then prepare them again, put new nozzles and everything on them so they're ready to go. The trucks here are how we get the water out to stations. We have about 50 different stations between here and Ajo and the border, of course. We do know that changes to the wall have changed some of the routes, but it's fascinating how many of the routes have stayed the same. People are just getting through and then going east or west to get back on a traditional route. Over the years, we've always had pushback from various groups. Border Patrol has been sort of hands-off with our group. Right-wing groups over the years have done things like shooting our tanks or breaking the spigots on our tanks or knocking down our flags. And we just replace and continue.
The US-Mexico border remains highly politicized, now more than ever. And with rates of migration rising, the challenge of how to patrol the border seems no closer to being solved.
The national immigration policy definitely needs to be looked at, and if at all possible, this is one of those magic wand things. If I could just get everybody to check their politics at the door and sit down and talk about this, I think we could do it.
Even though I'm in favor of the wall, it's become a desperate attempt to prove something. If we had enforcement of the existing immigration laws, we would have enough workers to satisfy America's appetite for cheap labor, and we wouldn't have an issue with people coming illegally, and we could have a 7-strand barbed wire fence again up there.
It always amazed me that we haven't learned. You know, the world is too small to try to fix something with a fence.